Let's talk about the fall off. J. Cole's new double album that fans have been waiting for almost 10 years. This one's a big deal in hip hop right now, of course. Cole's been doing this thing in rap for close to 20 years now. From putting out mixtapes in Fayetteville to becoming a worldwide name. What he's known for is keeping it real, grinding hard, and being honest about the life. You know, he's he gives off a persona of this, like down to earth, kind of like the way that dude that wears a jumpsuit, a sweatsuit in Congress. He ended up being a trash ass dude, but like down to earth. Like I'm just like one of y'all. I'm not all completely buttoned up. You know what I mean? I'm just chilling, right? Um, but this album it does hit different. It's not just another drop; it's a statement. And he released his own statement before this came out. For the past 10 years, this album has been handcrafted with one intention: a personal challenge to myself to create my best work, to do on my last what I was unable to do on my first. I had no way of knowing how much time, focus, and energy it would eventually take to achieve this. But despite the countless challenges along the way, I knew in my heart I would one day get to the finish line. He's using these words like finish line. Okay, let me finish what he's saying here. Okay. I owed it first and foremost to myself. And secondly, I owed it to hip hop, the fall off, J. Cole. This reminds me a little bit of Kendrick's Grammy speech last year, where was it his speech? I believe it was a speech in Grammy last year. Where he was saying how, um, you know, you do it for hip hop, and to keep it hip hop, and to respect hip hop. And if you're gonna dabble into hip hop, you better respect the craft and the art form that it is. Um, and Cole is channeling that same thing here. First of all, thanks to myself, I owed it to myself to do this. This is a project. This is something. This is an idea. This is a an adventure that I started many years ago that passed me. Um, and he's invested a lot of time in this. And this project is going to be worth his time. He's going to look back, and a lot of this is just it's again it's tape one. It's double disc. Tape one is 29. Tape number two is 39. This is all about reflection, and this is all about consciously and actively um, curating your thoughts on this career that you've had, this life that you had. You were living your life, and your life was living this career. Was it worth the trip? Right? Was it worth price of admission? Right? That's the question, right? Cole has spoken openly about that. He has no interest in making another J. Cole album, like a traditional J. Cole album after this. Maybe he might, I don't know, come out with another moniker. Maybe he'll just go by Jermaine. Or it sounds like I'm getting some clues here and there throughout the project where maybe he wanted to get into some of these other like producing, right? Producing also. We're gonna review Labyrinth, and Labyrinth started producing in the TV show Euphoria, and he's got a project out. He's got and he's always been in music, but that's when he really discovered this other thing, this other untapped energy, untapped power. So maybe J. Cole just is on a creative journey. I don't know exactly, but apparently this is going to be his last quote unquote J. Cole project. Nobody ever fully retires. But first things first, got to put this into context. What I'm going to say about this project, the context for me is that I'm not the biggest J. Cole head. I'm a J. Cole fan. I like J. Cole, right? I'm always keeping an eye on J. Cole. But I never really thought that, like, with the conversation, the big three, I must have missed that conversation because, like, it was like, it wasn't for me. Not no, like, during that era, like, I mean, Drake, of course, is up there, but like, I wasn't really that into Drake. But like, I couldn't. He was like so atmospheric, like you couldn't deny his existence. So okay, fine, you put him up there. Then and then K Dot. right? When I heard To Pimp a Butterfly, and I had to go back and then catch up on even the mixtape era and everything, right? And was it To Pimp a Butterfly was the first? Was it Section 80 that I first listened to? I think it might have been to. I can't remember exactly. It was before Damn. And then Damn came out to confirm shit for me. Like Damn is one of the most perfect albums. Um, like it's his perfect album. It's one of the perfect in the canon of hip hop. It's gonna go down there. But um, so for sure, Dot is up there. I mean, I didn't know Cole was in the contention like that. Like I really like Cole, and I listened to, but like it took I was late to the game that Cole is the third in this triad. If anything, maybe around that time, I was probably would thinking more maybe Wale, maybe even Big Sean, right? But is it just me that like Big Sean that much or something like that? Even Wale for me falls off sometimes, but like Big Sean stayed hot, right? Um, or even just I mean Future. If we're talking numbers and we're talking influence, right? But like Future ain't talking about nothing. I mean they ain't talking about nothing. Like K Dot say, right? Like Kenny say. So um, but okay, but like I respect his body of work to enough to where I'm like, I see what he's doing, and we're talking about like those, these dudes that are active right now, and I see what he's doing, and I see you fully. So I respect it, right? And I respect Cole, and I respect his work, I respect his art. It just didn't have that. There's a segment of people that specifically that Cole is targeting. I don't know which came first, the chicken or the egg, but um, that specific vibration, he's making music that speaks to their soul. And I see some of what is going on with that. I have glimpses of it myself, um, but not fully though. So I again, not a full. So that's the context. And I think Forest Hill, I love that project. That's like that project could stand head held high above anything that's come out in the past 10 years, right? Was Forest Hill 2014? Yeah, in the past 10 years. Um, but this one is number two. I think this is number two. All things considered, right? Like Clip say, all things considered, sh- uh, you know, I think this is his second best body of work. Um, Now we could quibble with a couple things here and there. I think a lot of it has to do with um, are you a J Cole fan or you a J Cole hater, right? Um, and you're gonna come into that context, right? If you're a J Cole stan, he can do no wrong. He probably did no wrong for you on this project, right? And if you're a J Cole hater, you're always gonna have him in like little boy status, right? You're always gonna have like a little bit of energy of something to him, and like he's trash. He's not even worth listening to. Um, if you're a J Cole hater, I guess what this video for me is people who like music and you're interested in listening to music and what is happening with music now, where it's going, what's the storyline and stuff, uh, but you're not passionately for or against J. Cole. This is music. This is a video to tell you this is worth your listen, bro. I'm you. So just like he's targeting I'm specifically targeting the version of me that's speaking to you about checking out a J. Cole project. You have that capacity and you're intrigued enough and you're interested enough into the music, into the lyrics, into the story that you'll check out a J. Cole project and you'll be honest about it. And I'm honestly saying that this is a good project. This is a this is a this is a great project for J. Cole. This is the most J. Cole that Cole has ever called. And for him to like set that target out and bullseye that bit, like this is so J. Cole. This is so J. Cole. So bullseye that bit, I gotta give him some credit for that. I gotta give because he went to his niche and he went to his identity like head on. We know exactly who this dude is, right? If he was in your friend group, you'd be like, yeah, I know, yeah, that's him, right? in order to do that, we first have to dive into the production, and some of the highlights on the tracks and stuff like that that are going on this massive project. It's 24 tracks. This thing is an hour and 40 minutes listen. So, and I've listened to it at least minimum. The a full listen is an hour and 40 minutes. I've listened to it at least 6 times. At least 6 times. So, and by the way, I'm a week behind everybody else's reviews and stuff because I'm sitting with it. I'm legit sitting with it and giving it its fair shake. And I like a lot more. I like a lot more stuff on here than you know you know now that I've sat with it. You know what I mean? So um, there are some misgivings I will say I do have on this project, and in anybody who has these critiques about this project, we're doing the same thing, and I'm doing it too right now. It's just going to be some Monday morning quarterback shit because we know some information now that he didn't necessarily have when he was putting it together, right? But and the fact of it being a double album, some people complain about the some of the songs being too long, and of course the thing that plagued Nas, quote unquote, is the beat selection, right, and producing on this thing, and maybe like exploring, some different sounds, and whatever. That's everybody's personal opinion. Cole set out to do what Cole wanted to do, and he did that thing, and I can say that he executed on that thing. What I would critique about it, again, Monday morning quarterbacking, is that he should have released it separately. I think he should have done, but I think he should have done, like, instead of making it one long disc, particularly knowing, like, I don't know, I don't know how much do Cole stands want to consistently be pounded with, like, song after song from Cole. Um, for that long, like, damn near 2 hours, right? But or would he rather you sit with a shorter body of work and dive deep into that one and give it so many listens where you then learn to know the lyrics and everything, right? And so you're like, and you find all the nuances and stuff. Give people some time to do that. There's different objectives there. But if he released it at separate times and, like, call one, like, it's the fall off one, and then, or just call it the fall off colon 29, 29, whatever, and then the fall off colon 39, right? Because that's what they're tied, the first side, first CD and second CD, right? Um, I think if he would release maybe the fall off in the 2025, like, fall, maybe in the fall 2025, maybe after, yes, after the Grammy nomination deadline has passed, let him release it then, so that it could be considered for the 2026 Grammy cycle, and then release the second half um in May or June, early summer, early summer, so that it could last in the zeitgeist up until the next time. If you wanted to win a Grammy, that's what's gonna happen. This is a good album. This is a great album, but I can't see this album have, being better than the the projects that were nominated last season, right? Uh, Maybe over the Glorilla. Nah, not even the Glorilla project, 'cause that was way more accessible. That one was way more consumable. Um, so I don't know. I think it should just be released in two parts because people complain about that long playtime. Um, but I think if you were to let people have, and know that this is a part one, slow release that, you know what I mean, that bit, maybe drop a video or something like that for the second project somewhere within that gap. Um, and do some interviews and stuff, and, like, boom, I'm ready to release my second one. I think people would have sat with that first one long enough where they could critique it in and of that body of work in and of itself, because they are separated that way. And then have their filter that out. You know what I mean? See, have their reactions to it, have their replays, what has replay value and all those things, right? And have your charts jumping up and down and all that
I
kind
think
of
this
stuff.
one will be my
And
first tattoo.
then in the summer you drop the second one, you get that whole wave again, and now you get the complete body of the story. It's like Endgame for Marvel. In Endgame, and what was the other one? The Infinity War, right? Do that be like that, and but again, that's more than more the cornerback, and you know what I mean. I think he should have had some kind of information like that because like we know not a lot of double projects are getting spins. They're not doing a lot of great work. I love the Weekend album. You know what I mean. That was a double project. You know what I mean. I loved it. Like I thought they should have won or it should have been nominated at least for album of the year. I think it was nominated for album of the year. I don't think it won though. But like yeah, sometimes it works all the way through. This one not so much. This one not exactly so much. But again, this is me in hindsight. Sound wise, Cole mixes old school vibes with modern energy. You got producers like T Minus bringing clean current beats alongside some lazy back jazzy sounds that give Cole room to tell his story. Some tracks feel nostalgic, like the classic hip hop style on Safety, for example, while others use deeper trap beats but still keep the focus on what Cole's saying. Safety is this track where it feels personal, it feels thoughtful, and Cole is looking back on where he came from, looking back to his hood. You ain't been back in a while, you know what I mean? We just, get safe coming home, sort of thing. You know what I mean? We'd love to see, right? Poor Thing is another track. This one is sharp, has confident energy all written all over it. The Fall Off is Inevitable comes in the second disc, which, the first disc is my favorite. So if it was a CD, I'd have to like definitely give that second tape a spin because my favorite song is on there. It's not my is it the Fall Off my it's one of my favorite songs on here, right? It might be my favorite song on here. I didn't think about that. My favorite track, Quick Stop. Man, I have I like that one track, man. Everybody hating on. I'm gonna talk about that in a second though, but no. Okay, so probably right now the Fall Off is Inevitable. It's probably my favorite track on this thing. I just love the way that like of course I'm a huge Nas fan, and of course it like immediately hey rewind right by the Nas track and like off of Stillmatic he has his track Rewind where he retells the whole story of like is it like a robbery or something like that, and then it starts off with the robbery and stuff and then goes into like how he starts his day sort of thing, and I think it's like some shorty gave him head at some point in there and then like did the head backwards kind of thing. Um, and then so that's that. But what Cole does on this track, the Fall Off is Inevitable, is he he takes that idea and does it to a grander scale. Like I think we have to acknowledge that he did it to a grander scale. I'm not saying he bodied it. I'm not saying he killed Nas on it. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that like he stood on the shoulder of that particular giant, short giant. You know what I mean? Short king, right? Shout out Nas, right? Shout out Godson. Um, but he elevated it. He took it to the next level. Cause Cole retracked his entire freaking life. He's rewinding his entire life. He's done it to a grander scale, of course. He's spiritually rewinding a whole life from fame, from ego, from youth, hunger, and asking, when did things change? At which point, as we rewind and we play this whole life thing, like, when did the fire start? And for him, it's like, when did he, like, that thing that sparked him to say, I'm going to focus in on this, and this is what I'm going to do. And then, like, today, years old, when he's like, I'm retiring from rap. Apparently, you know what I mean, allegedly, this is gonna be his last as J. Cole. Maybe he makes other types of music, but he's still in the music game. But when he's talking about um one of the so-called kings of this rap thing that I swear to usurp, decade later, mama cut on the cable. My motivation to be greater ends the moment I peer in her purse. I'm growing shorter, pampers covering my hindquarters. Going backwards, right? I watch my father walk back in my life and it clears up a hurt. My motivation to be greater ends the moment I peer in her purse. I'm growing shorter, pampers covering my hindquarters. I watch my father walk back into my life, and it clears up a hurt. I hope y'all listening. I couldn't explain. Mama gives me my name, then hands me over to the doctor. Usually it's the other way around. He hands me over to the doctor, and I watch as my spirit reverts. I'm no longer here on this earth. That's how I see it. He's going backwards to the point from his very soul enters his body, all the way to the point where he gets into the rap game today, where he's freaking retiring from the game. That's a bigger scale, and he did that. He did that nicely. Drum and bass is another dope track on this thing. The piano's heavy, the grooves, it's let him uh it lets the lyrics really, it gives space for the lyrics to really land. Only You comes up towards the end of the project. This is track number 18. This one is an intimate love song with some smooth melodies. But we finally have to talk about another one of my favorite tracks on this entire project, and it is apparently controversial. For some reason, I'm the only one that's hearing. I feel like I'm the only one that likes this freaking song. The Fall Off is about looking back and thinking about what you leave behind. The Let Out is like the deep breath after everything settles. It's a song within a song. It's like an inception. He in his song, he's talking about here, like I mean, I can't. I'm not gonna sit here and explain this whole goddamn thing to you. Why you don't get it? And okay, so you know what? Respectfully, the Let Out captures the feeling of being on the other side of like this intense. You was in a club, you know what I mean? You was in a concert, or you was in this career. You're in this life, this like you're in the asteroid field, right? And you swimming through this thing. And you get out whole on the other side. And then you're like, well, I know how to navigate that now. I'm a pro at that. But let me see what's out there and continue to explore. Like, wait. For what you just did, for all that stuff you just did, you about to go try some new shit? Will you survive that? We're used to this. We're used to this already. We're good over here. It was tough, but we navigated through it. And now so it's like he's questioning himself. Like, will we survive the let out? Those are the lyrics. Will we survive the let out? I'm thinking he's talking to his past self, his present self, and his this future self, right? I love conceptualizing these personally. Actually, myself, I do this all the time. Well, I'm thinking like, what would my past self say to me right now? And also like, sometimes I look at my future self, and I'm like, bro, I hope you appreciate what the fuck I went through for you. For you to be where you at right now, I really hope you look back one day and look at your past self and say, yo, my dude, good looking out, past self, cause we up right now. And I'm so glad I ain't gotta go through that no more. But you went through that. So I ain't gotta go through that. Hove did that. Feel me? Um, and he's done it. He's done it in this song. Um, he's captured that. Now, the first layer of the onion is just that. Okay, no, Darwin, it's just a club, just a let out, bro. At the parking lot, you be trying to holler at those in the parking lot, like, bro, that's all it is. And I'm not trying to get all space brainy and everything, like, but then now that makes me feel like a Cole fan to take it that deep there. But I think that's his intention, and I love to see an artist like at the space that they intended. I'm a writer myself, and I be writing some stuff. I'll write a particular scene out, dialogue, everything like laid out, move the pieces around, and like I'm like, that's what I meant right there. And that's what I meant when I wrote it down. And sometimes I'll be wondering like, is there anybody reading that's like that gets that? There's people that's gonna be like have their own interpretation of it. They have their own life experiences, but like sometimes I be wondering like, yo, somebody get exactly what I'm saying here? Gets exactly what I'm saying here. Did somebody get that? And somebody gets that? That could be where you find yourself. You end up finding yourself in a conversation with Cole. He's like selling CDs out of his car and stuff. So he's like doing some really grassroots stuff, which is catering to his super fans, which is what he's supposed to do. And if a super fan can find that nugget and then be able to have a chance to relay that to him, bro, that's some like spiritual shit. That's all. And I'm not one to like dive into that spiritual stuff. That's not me. You know what I mean? But like, it'd be some stuff that you can't like, man, there was some connection there. Talk about wavelength matching. That's what's up. But a lot of people don't feel like they got to look deeper into this joint. They'd be like, "Yo, he's just letting out the club, and Cole's not that deep." I'm not saying he's the deepest of all in all times. I mean, he's not even a reader really, from what I know. Like he doesn't even like reading books, so he's probably not even that smart. But he's tapped into something. He's tapped into something. And maybe it's just me reading more into it. But like this project allows that sort of space for you to be able to tap into that. I think when we survived the let out, so oh, when we survived the let out, when we survived there's a part that the DJ says, you ain't gotta go home, but you gotta you gotta get up out of here, right? Um, that could be, hey, hip hop is like, the way that you know it, the way that you've approached it right now, okay, like you gotta get off of this right now. You gotta get off this. What if he comes out and he's gonna be like a fucking Drake type, some shit like that, right? Just fucking, I'm just gonna make fucking pop rap. It's just shit like that. It's just I don't know. That'd be some wild stuff. You use like whole hair, like that way. But still, you don't know what he's gonna get into. But he's questioning if he's gonna survive this. It ends with some spoken word. I love that he slips this in here. Oh, no, this is what I was gonna say first. Is that I think with the production is what a lot of people have had some issue with the musicality of it, and I cannot disagree more. The thing starts off with a Spanish freaking guitar, right, and then it goes into almost like a rock ballad type of play with using some like electric guitar, but the Spanish guitar is plugged in, but it still carries its memory or its essence throughout the rest of the song. So it still remains there as like the cadence and the rope that tethers us together along for the remainder of the song, because the song goes weird places because it includes like some like maybe some a little bit of heavy metal. There's a guitar solo and everything. There's some little bit of a grunge feel here and there. Meanwhile, he's rapping like Bone Thugs and Harmony, which means there's also harmony happening, particularly in the chorus and stuff. This is a very nuanced song. It's clearly a Bone Thugs and Harmony reference happening because they did a lot of work with guitar and Western sounds and things like that, and country sort of sounds, and in their work, they were very experimental as well. But then it's a rap, and then the rapping, and then the flow that Cole has on this track, and then the singing and the harmony that happens. But you get the hell up out of here, hell up out of here. You ain't got, and he's the one that's singing in the chorus as well. The musicality is legendary. It's gorgeous. Yeah, he's doing his own vocals. You know what I mean? Some people think that he should like, contract that out. Will we survive the lead? His voice just sounds perfectly mixed and mastered for that particular stage. So the production is dope. The musicality is dope. The message is deep. It's relatable. We all know the let out, even if you're going to look at it freaking skin deep, you get deeper into it too. The lyrics are there, the story is there. The man is flowing on this thing. I don't see how this is a bad song. I don't see how this is a bad song. People are hating on this song. Every respected, almost every respected music journalist, music critic, podcast that does music that I've listened to hate this song. They say it's the worst song on the album. I don't get it. I don't get it. Hate it? I can't like this song enough. I can't like the song enough. So respect to y'all. Y'all way deeper in the game than I am. Y'all know way more than I do. Y'all have listened to probably far more music than I've ever had. But I think I know good music when I hear it. Check the catalog. Check all the projects that I've reviewed, that I take my time for, and like, I'm gonna have to rest on that. But like, that's a good track. Well, we still let out, like that's a good track. That's a dope track. It ends with the some spoken word even. No more doubt. Feel me? There's a late night gathering of souls in the parking lot shortly after the club closes. Cause niggas don't want to go home. But it won't be long before somebody start wilding. Shots start firing. And good times turn violent at the let out. To bring it all the way home. And it's in spoken word with the guitar solo in the background just going crazy. Mind you, the Spanish guitar is still strumming along. That's a tether. That binds us all together. It's not a rock song. It's not meant to be a rock song. There's a little bit of country element in there to it. But this is experimental hip hop that Cole is doing here. He doesn't realize it. This is another genre that's happening out there already. And he's tapping into that. Maybe it's the old heads. I don't know. But I think that's a freaking amazing track. It's that specific feeling when you're past the anger or the ego, and you're just starting to admit to the truth that something's either slipping, or you know, it could be a relationship, it could be a version of yourself, it could be the hunger that you once had, but you're settling into a new place. It's either slipping away or you're letting go. One of those two things are happening, and the way you cope with it hits different depending on what happened. Did you let something slip away? Was there an opportunity that you're gonna feel a different way? But if you let something go, you're like, no, I'm through with this. There's a different kind of way you hold your head, right? The next day. He's grappling with that. He's grappling with that in this project. So that's what I think the letter is all about. Questioning it, talking to his past self, and his future self. He's hoping they appreciate each other. Trust the process, they say, right? I feel like Cole is genuinely asking himself these questions. When I look back at the statement that he said here, eventually take no. What do you say? When I look back at what he said, there's one last line here where he says, "I knew in my heart I would one day get to the finish line. I knew in my heart that I would one day get to this finish line." That's his past self really talking to us. Like he planted that seed within himself. He sought it out, and he knew this day would come. So that really makes me feel like that's a closing. This is a closing statement. He's ending this phase in his career, stepping into the wilderness. Will he survive the business world? Is it going to be fashion? No, it can't be fashion necessarily. Is he going to just go into his producing bag? He mentions on one of the tracks about how one of the goals that he has now is to help some of these artists who he grew up on, helping them, dive back in. Yo, what would be crazy if the first Andre 3K project we get was like executive produced by Cole? Yo, it would have been like, yo, we didn't trust the process, bro. You knew it all along that that's what you were gonna. That was crazy. If 3 Stacks and he includes his flute and all that kind of stuff because he does stuff like Let Out on there, where he's freaking being experimental. He's got the flute on there, whatever, and does some experimental stuff, and we get our first 3K project. Um, because of Cole putting in that time and respecting his contemporaries, and not even contemporaries, his forefathers. Because there's plenty of that all over this project. From Nas to Peter Pablo, shout out Peter Pablo. Freaking Erykah Badu is up in here. Um, Pac Biggie references. This he loves hip hop. I think Cole loves hip hop, and and we should respect that enough to see like he puts in the time for the art of hip hop. He puts in the effort for the art of hip hop. Well, there's a lot of artists right now that are just in it for the freaking bag because this is just another paycheck. So he's wondering if will he survive the fallout, the let out. He's wondering generally, will he survive what comes next? Will he take advantage of those these new skills, these new ventures, and will he survive it, maintain himself, maintain his legacy, or will it swallow him and freaking chew him up and spit him out, swallow him whole? Even mixed metaphors, if you will. Um, there's from Dark Knight, right? Where it says you either live, say you either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. And Cole has made this reference multiple times, not in the exact same words, but like talking about how some of his favorites actors. He talked about how Kanye went Kanye, and to see his heroes fall. So he's very much aware of that. He's very much aware of this legacy. So part of him ending who J. Cole is right now is like there could be like some fear there where he doesn't want to let down. You know what? I'm on top. I'm good. I hadn't had no scandals. Ain't nothing crazy happened with me. I ain't had no mental breakdown. You Let me stop it right here and solidify that legacy and walk away and do something else. Be identified differently. It could be that. Um, but it could be, you know, that he let old Cole down. He let young Cole down. And ended up being the detriment to what they built. You don't want that either. So who knows what Cole's going with the next phase of his story, but I think it's a good project. I think it's worth your listen. I think that you shouldn't rush through this album. You gotta just sit with it. Let tracks like Safety or The Fall Off Is Inevitable play while your mind drifts to your own memories. It's the kind of album that hits different when you actually give it time. Like taking a late night walk and thinking about everything that shaped you. In a new Grammy season that's laced already, bro. We got IDK came out. Wale had a project that came late last year. Don Toliver just dropped and they've been running that back over and over and over again. Check the catalog. Got a review of that one already. It's that good. Make America Wavy Again. That project dropped. That was freaking amazing. Drake has a project that's supposed to come out. We know that's coming out. I think Future might have another joint. Um, who else supposed to drop? I think so. Drake supposed to drop. I can't recall right now, but there's several other artists that were looking for some big projects. To go, Baby Keem project's coming out in next week. I think next week, right? And it's been a long time coming for that. So I think with all this tough competition out right now, that Cole stood 10 toes down and put himself into the conversation. Put himself into the conversation. It's a reminder that rap can be both enduring um, and intimately personal. Whether or not this is Cole's final album, it sure feels like one that he always meant to make, and it's unapologetically Cole. It's so Cole. It, like I said before, it's the coldest J Cole that Cole has ever cold. Um, and he tapped into that, and he gave you 24. I could see a super fan having no skips. I have some here and there songs that just didn't completely just like land with me, whatever. But that's whatever. But he's got this run. He goes on a run that's like somewhere mid, like between the mid level of the first project to like a couple tracks into the second project that goes on a run back to back to back to back, no misses. He ain't got no bangers on there. Then like maybe there's a couple that you might find in the club or something like that, or at a party or something. But there's plenty of stuff here that you can find in a brunch. There's plenty of you gonna find in a brunch. There's several love songs on here. Um, you know, that's cool. And if you want some deep listening, you know, you gotta tap into it yourself. Let it wash over you. Give it at least one listen before you got anything to say about it. If you're in that middle demographic that you're not already a Cole hater, it's worth a listen. It's that good. We'll see what else comes out later this year, but it was a pretty good offering. And Cole has nothing. If it doesn't get any awards or if it doesn't get nominated for anything, Cole has nothing to hold his head down about, because this is the culmination. This project, if I was Cole, this would be the project that I'd be like, this is my closing statement.